Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs. How's it going? It is December. It's December, y'all, and it is a good time. It is a good time to get going with our objectives for 2023. For those of you who are brand new to me, my name is Dawn Fraser. I'm based out of San Jose, California, and I help give birth to people's stories and use them in service of different objectives, a TED Talk, um, storytelling objective, storytelling for business. So today we are on day 2 of Ignitemas. That's right, Ignitemas. You're like, what the hell is Ignitemas? Ignitemas. That means that we are going to ignite your potential this month to land a TEDx talk in 2023. So I am so thrilled to see you all here today. We are streaming on a couple different platforms. Today we're talking about, are you a good fit for TEDx? Are you a good fit for TEDx? Okay. Now, if you are watching this on Instagram, you might want to join on Facebook or on LinkedIn, because we will be presenting a couple of slides today. And the slides are going to be talking about what are the guidelines specific to TED or TEDx. So if you aren't able to join live on one of those platforms, make sure you watch the replay, because we will be making sure that we have all that information for you ready to go. So for those of you who are already watching on the other live stream, I hope you can see my screen okay. Give me a thumbs up. Loving all the love on Instagram. Hello, family. Hello, family. So great to see you all here. All right, let's jump into it. All right, so one of the first things that I want to talk to you about today are the seven types of TED Talks that people are looking for, that curators are looking for. Now, a lot of you might know about the different, the big talks, right? I think that a lot of people seem to understand that TED is all about ideas worth spreading, right? That's their tagline. But many people might not know that there's actually a lot of different ways that you can present a TED Talk or a TEDx talk. So one of the very, very first things that I wanted to talk to you today were the 7 types of talks that are being sought by curators, okay? Now, the very, very first one that I want to talk to today is the big idea, okay? Now, the big idea is typically talks that have a very, very strong point, like 1 or 2 solid points. So for any of you in the audience that might know about Brian Stevenson, he's a legal scholar who has had a huge talk on TED. He has a very, very bold idea, right? And this is what I think that most people think about when they're thinking about what is a TED Talk. Most of them assume that it is a one big idea, such as Brian Stevenson's talk. Or one of my favorites as a storyteller is Chimamanda's Ngozi Adichie's story, or excuse me, talk, which is the danger of a single story. The danger of a single story. And so her premise in this particular talk is that our lives, our cultures are comprised of many overlapping stories. And she warns of the danger of one single story. Okay. Now, for many of you out there who are thinking about a TED or TEDx talk, you might have one big idea, like something that could really, if people were to adopt this one strategy, it could really change the world. Okay. This is one way to think about what TED is looking for. Okay. I want to present you with 6 other ways of thinking about what TED might be looking for and how you might qualify under those situations. The second thing that I want to talk to you about, the second form, is what's called the tech demo. Okay. Now, for anybody out there, I'd love to see if you are a techie. I love technology. And actually, the reason why I love talks about demos of technology is because this is actually what inspired me to apply to the TED Global Idea Search. I'm going to be talking about this a little bit later, about the TED Global Idea Search, because that is exactly how I got onto the stages of TED. I was looking at Facebook one day, and a friend of mine had posted this post, who said, like, hey, anybody interested in applying to TED? I want to show you how I did this. Okay. And the way that he did it was he had come up with an app. This is before TikTok. This is before like any of the reels or anything that was really crazy that we see nowadays in terms of the way that we consume content, which is very, very much video oriented. But he was a graphic designer, and he was really frustrated with the way that people would go to a concert, go to a show, and just like stand there with their phones, like scanning the stage and not really being present at a show or a concert, or just like with their families or with other people, right? And so what he did was he created an app that just captured 1 second of your day. 1 second. And his whole philosophy was like, if I could just take 1 second of every single day, by the time I'm 40, I'll have a 5 minute reel. At the time, he was about 34 years old. Okay. And so his whole philosophy and his whole idea was to create an app where you could just have 1 second of your day. Like, maybe you record like, a minute or 30 seconds, but every single day, the good days, the bad days, the indifferent days, we remember them because there's just that 1 second that reminds us of what it was like, right? This was such a huge idea about, and a revolutionary way about the way that we were at the time consuming content with standing there with our phones. Instead, he just wanted to have this 1 second. And so the app became 1 second every day. And he went onto the stages of TED. He pitched it to the TED Global Idea Search. And he said, you know what? I think that the way that people are consuming and thinking about their lives is dead wrong, especially as it relates to technology. And so he showed us this new technology where every single day you could just take a snippet and it would become part of your own memory, part of your own Smithsonian library, if you will, right? And this is what landed him a TED Talk. And this is also what inspired me to apply for my own TED Talk. Okay, so if you are an entrepreneur who has any type of technology, if you've created something, if you're an innovator, if you've actually like put something together physically, tangibly, that the world could benefit from, I want to hear from you, because the tech demo might be the type of style that might work best for you. Okay, so that's the second type of talk that TED is looking for. The third type of talk that TED is looking for is the performance. Yes. Any creatives in the house? Any creatives, any storytellers, any improvers, any, if you are, put a yep, that's me in the chat. Oh, and I'm so sorry. I forgot to mention, if you are on Instagram, I should have mentioned that the slides and everything that I'm talking about today is in the Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. Okay, Ideas That Ignite Facebook group. And you'll be able to catch this replay along with the slides that I'm currently presenting. Or hopefully you're taking notes if you're on Instagram, so that you're catching up with the things that we're throwing down today. All right. So the next one that I want to talk about is the performance. So magicians, dance, puppets, music. Did you know that all of these types of individuals also are eligible to do TED and TEDx talks? Okay, so when I spoke on the stages of TED in 2013, one of the presenters was actually a woman who was just emerging on the scene. But now people might know her name. Her name is Chanel Martin, and she's kind of known for like those black and white, like single line that draws a huge mural, right? And it was like a performance that she was talking about, like her art and how her philosophy around her art, right? So if you are a musician, a guitarist, like any of these type of things, there's actually two different ways that you can present at TED. One is actually being the talent in between different sets. Okay, so you could potentially be like, performing different types of talent in between the sets. And the second way is actually to talk about your art form and to talk about the influence of your art form. Okay, so the performance is a great one. And on the slides, if you're on our live stream on Facebook or on LinkedIn, I included one that's called A Young Guitarist Meets His Hero. A Young Guitarist Meets His Hero. And in this particular talk, it's by Usman Riaz, who's a 21-year-old whiz at percussive guitar, and how he learned to play by watching YouTube. Okay, so there are opportunities if you are a performer, an artist, a creative, a guitarist, like any of those type of things. That is another opportunity for you to potentially present at TED or TEDx. Okay, so far so good. All right, y'all. All right, y'all. Let's keep it rocking and rolling. Uh, and don't worry, I will repeat the first ones in just a moment, as soon as we keep on rocking and rolling here. So just hang out, and we'll do a recap of all of them. Okay. The next one that I want to talk about is actually the artist's statement. The artist statement. Now, can you believe that TED and TEDx actually has an opportunity to talk about the values behind your art, right? The things that have driven you, have motivated you to actually do the work and the art that you are actually engaged in, right? So the example that I'm including in today's live stream is from an artist by the name of Aparna Rao. I believe that's how her name is pronounced. But in her talk, she reimagines the familiar and surprising, often, excuse me, she reimagines the familiar in surprising and often humorous ways. So basically, what she does is she creates these high-tech installations, such as a typewriter that actually can send email, or a camera. Let's see if I can take myself out of the stream. So there might be a statement behind the art that you're providing. What is that statement? What is that statement? I'd love to see. Okay. Going on to our sixth type of talk. This is called the dazzle with wonder talk. The dazzle with wonder talk. Okay. Now these type of talks are mostly about science, right? Any scientists in the house? Any brainiacs? Um, one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite TED talks that got me hooked on this in the first place is by uh, um, uh, Jill Bolte. Jill, I'm totally like messing up the name of Jill. Stroke of genius. Give me 1 second here, y'all. I totally messed up her name. How could I do that? Oh, stroke of insight. Excuse me. Jill Bolte Taylor. There we go. Jill Bolte Taylor. Stroke of insight. So this woman essentially was studying the brain, and was fascinated when she actually had a stroke because she knew what was happening to her own body, but she was like talking about it on stage and actually showing like a real brain. So it's a fascinating talk, and if anybody hasn't seen it, I think it's actually one of the top 10 most watched TED Talks of all time. But this is what we would consider a dazzle with wonder. They're mostly talks about the amazement of science and discovering. So the example that I put onto our screen today is by a gentleman by the name of Yoav Medan, and he basically shares a technique around ultrasound and ultrasound surgery. And the title of the talk is Ultrasound Surgery Healing Without Cuts. Okay, so we talk about like the science and the technology and like why it's actually like really interesting and why this is a new way of informing what we might be able to do in the realm of science. Okay, so if any scientists out there, go ahead and put a me in the chat, because I'd love to see like what is it that you're working on? Like how might it change the way that we approach science? And in my own personal opinion, science was one of those big topics from 2020 that a lot of people started questioning, almost like doubting the science in certain regards. I'm talking, of course, about COVID, but I think that the idea of like what science and scientists, or those who are like scientists, can do, and actually make us wonder about like how we navigate the world, is an absolute genius opportunity to present something like that to TED. Okay, so this will be the dazzle with wonder kind of talks. Okay, I got two more. Let's go on to our next one. Okay, great. Now, the next one that I want to talk about is actually the one that I think that a lot of people who are watching this stream now could benefit from, right? For those of you who weren't here, we started off at the very top of the session talking about the big idea. Okay, the big idea is typically what I think most people think about when we're talking about TED and TEDx. What I want to present with you today, and this is coming directly from TED. Okay, so I'm not making this stuff up. I'm coming from you directly from the horse's mouth. Is the small idea. Okay, so we've gone from the big idea to the small idea. Okay, now what is a small idea, and why do I think that most of you who are watching this stream might qualify for this? Because here's the thing, these particular talks are not about like one big idea about, like, like when I mentioned at the top of the stream, Brian Stevenson, and how he talked about 1 in 5 Black men have been incarcerated, and what we can do to radically change the criminal justice system, right? Or another topic that I talked about was a Chimananzi talk, the danger of a single story, right? These are big thoughts brought to us by people who are renowned in their field. The small talk, okay, oh, I'm sorry, not the small talk, the small idea, excuse me, are not about like world changing ideas, but things where if we shifted the way that we think about things 1 degree, 2 degrees to the right, to the left, then that actually is going to make a world of a difference. Okay, so for this particular topic, I wanted to be a little edgy, right? And so the example that I'm sharing with you, for those of you who are able to see the live stream on LinkedIn or on our Facebook group, is called 10 Things That You Didn't Know About Orgasm. Okay, hopefully your children are not listening to this stream at this current moment, because and if you do decide to check out that talk, which is fascinating, definitely not suitable for work. Okay, but yeah, so the people probably know a lot about, well, let me take that back. People might not know a lot about orgasms, um, but this author just wanted to like reframe some of the things that we were thinking about 10 surprising claims about sexual climax, ranging from the bizarre to the hilarious. Okay, well, all right then. I feel you. Yep. Can I light it up? Can we light it up? Oh, snap! I'm feeling you. Right now, the reason why I think that the majority of you who are here probably fall within this category is because a lot of us are in different fields, being the environment, be it diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Be it healing, be it communications and storytelling, right? Or being some type of creative. A lot of us have already seen the topics that we're talking about presented at some type of stage, at some type of TED or TEDx event, right? But here's the thing, so much has changed in the past couple of years that I want you to think about, what do people think about now in terms of your topic? Like, right? What do people think about housing? What do people think about the environment? What do people think about science? What do people think um, about inclusion? Right? There's like a billion topics out there, right? I want you to go onto a TED or TEDx website and see, what did the person talk about and what did they not talk about? What might be something very like new, that if we just were to shift it by 1 degree, it could actually change the narrative of how we live and how we exist on this planet. Okay, so it might be something that you've already seen, and you might say to me like, Dawn, this has been talked about on TED and TEDx. I guarantee you, the grand majority of the people who are watching this stream, the topic that you are interested in talking about has already been covered by TED. I guarantee you. The joy is in this particular process of finding the small idea is actually peeling back those layers to figure out what about this topic is new. Okay, what about this particular topic is new? And that's why I always suggest to people that we do this in community. We do this talking out loud. okay? Because when we talk in community, we're talking to other people who are not in our industry, people who are not in our industry, but people who absolutely could benefit from our message. Okay. And once we're able to reach those people and we're able to articulate our values, articulate our idea to them, then that is a great place to start to pitch to TED. Now, one of the things I spoke about a little bit yesterday, I'm sorry, I'm going to go off tangent for just a quick second before going back to our 7 main types of TED Talks. But one of the things that I always suggest that people do is to write out your idea in one sentence. In one freaking sentence, right? Now, if you're able to do this, great. Then reframe it. Do it again. Start to pull back these layers a little bit more, because the chances are the very, very first time that you try to articulate that idea, it might come out good. But then as you start to like peel it back and start to present that idea to an audience that is not in your field, that is not in your industry, the better you're going to get at actually articulating what that message is, right? And I want you to think of yourself as a scientist. I want you to think of yourself as a scientist when you're putting together your idea. I want you to say to yourself, this A is how people typically think about launching or the environment, or I was going to say, well, I'm just going to say it, about intimacy, right? This is how people typically think about it. Now, I want you to think about what may have changed. What may have changed during COVID? How is this perspective slightly different because of COVID, right? Or not even because of COVID, but because of everything that we had to go through and endure during the last couple of years, when we were basically socially isolated, when we were kind of confused about what was going on. You know, during the past couple of years, there have been a lot of things that have changed. So I want you to present, what do people typically think about, and how might I present a slight change in that perspective? Then I want you to articulate it in one sentence. Articulate it in one sentence, right? So if you've ever gone onto like YouTube and you've seen like a really catchy title, you know, like everything would be better about your weight if you just did this, right? It's like these zinger kind of a headlines that are intended to get your attention, right? But it makes you lean into like think, okay, well, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? Right? And that's by design. By People are naturally inclined to figure, or want to figure out like what's the answer, or what might this person be talking about, right? Yeah, no, y'all like that. What is this? This is my lighter. In case you're curious, the name of my program is called Ideas That Ignite. So people who sign up for my program, I throw lighters and light up their asses. Okay, that's what I do. That's why I constantly have a lighter on me. Okay, so anyways, so that goes to the small idea, where I think that the majority of people who are here, if you're not an inventor, or if you're not like already kind of coming up on a global stage as a renowned name, I think that this is going to be the one that you're going to most lean into. Okay. And last but not least, this one is another one where I think a grand majority of people who are part of this community will probably really appreciate. Are you all ready? This one is the issue talk. The issue talk. Okay. Now, the reason why I think that so many people actually fall within this particular category is because I am connected to so many people who are passionate about social justice issues, around the environment, around criminal justice, right? Just about like reform, Bitcoin, crypto. There's like so many different people who are really passionate about different issues. And the issue talk is all about exposing your audience to an issue that they may not otherwise know about. An issue that they may or may not otherwise know about. Okay. So for example, earlier this year, I was looking to buy some property. I moved from Brooklyn, New York, to San Jose, California, and I was looking to buy property. Yes, I know people, I know. Why would I go from the most expensive market to the second most expensive market? I'm trying to torture myself, right? But one of the things I had no idea about the issue of lack of affordability and lack of opportunities was around creating these things called additional dwelling units, right? Where people who can buy property, but then actually have an ADU, right? Oh yeah, Cali. I feel you, Cali vibes, right? Love me some California, love me some California. But I needed to learn about this issue of lack of affordability and lack of land to actually provide housing for people. Once I started learning about this issue, I started learning that this was something that could actually be addressed if we did X, Y, and Z. And X, Y, and Z included, initiatives for small housing units, additional dwelling units, all these things that I personally started learning about because of the issue of home homelessness, um, and the economy. Right now, that example is something that I was personally like taking on. But the issue that I put up on our screen today was actually the issue of drug cartels. Okay, so if you are a person who is passionate about social justice issues, or if you're passionate about some type of issue that is not political, and I'm actually going to get into the three things that TED is looking for that might actually dissuade them from accepting your application. One of them is any type of political agendas. I'm gonna get to that in just a second. But for the time being, I did want to talk about this example that did go on the TED website, which was called The Deadly Genius of Drug Cartels. The Deadly Genius of Drug Cartels. So it talks about how up to 100,000 people died in drug related violence in Mexico in the last 6 years. And many of us might think that has nothing to do with us. But actually, this Yale professor, Rodrigo Canales, talks about the conventional wisdom, how these are not faceless, ignorant goons, but actually a result of some seriously sophisticated brand management. All right. So I want you to think about what is the issue? What is the social issue, the cultural issue, the political issue that might be of interest to you? And how might that help you inform what kind of talk you want to give? Okay. So going back to the top, since I know that some of you may have missed the first couple of slides here. The first one, the first thing to think about is a big idea. If you have a big idea, I think that a lot of people think and understand TED and TEDx for this particular brand is the big idea. Okay, so what we'll be doing in the process of the next couple of weeks going on here is figuring out like which one of these do you fall into. Big ideas are the things that we typically see on many TED and TEDx stages. However, there's a lot of ways to actually convert a big idea into a small idea. Okay, but anyways, going back in order, the first one is the big idea. Okay, the second one is the tech demo. So any type of demonstration of technology. Oh, I forgot to mention for this particular one of my favorites also was about this thing called a bird. It basically is a robot that flies like a bird. So most robots look like robots. It looks kind of robotic, right? But this is actually a demo about somebody who was able to make a robot fly like a bird. Okay, so a tech demo. If you're a techie, drop me a what's up in the chat because I'd love to see what your tech is all about. Okay, the third one is the performance, the actual performance. If you're a guitarist, musician, a puppet person, I'm a storyteller. So this is something that captured my heart and attention when I was first applying to TED, was the performance. I didn't give a performance, but I did talk about the importance of my storytelling as part of my advocacy. Okay, the next one was the artist's statement. So it kind of goes into the values of your art, like why, the process behind what it is that you're creating. Okay, the next one was the dazzle with wonder. The dazzle with wonder talk. We talked a little bit about ultrasound surgery without any type of cuts. Right? So a lot of these talks are based off of science or medicine or discovery, archaeology, things that we've discovered in time and space, right? The second to last one was the small idea. The small idea, the ones that I think that most of you will qualify for in terms of like shifting that needle, just a percentage point or two, Okay. And last but not least, the issue talk for all of those who are interested in the politics and culture. What is that issue? And why might we not know much about it? And what can we do about that? Okay. So those are the 7 types of TED Talks that people are currently looking for, and how you might think about like, where do I actually fall within this particular paradigm? Okay. Now to round out today's discussion, I want to discuss 2 more things. The first is, what is a great, well-formed idea? What is a great, well-formed idea? Um, Now, I think that many people think that they don't qualify to give a TED or TEDx talk because they don't have enough experience. But actually, I just want to pull this directly from the TED website. Okay, so give me a quick second as I like look over at my computer screen over here. But one of the things that they've noted on their own website is that the idea that they're looking for falls within 2 categories. Okay, the first is a great basic idea that your audience has maybe already heard of, with a compelling new argument behind it, which challenges a belief or perspective. Once again, going back to our small, our small talk. Let's see if I can go ahead and take this. Yeah, okay, there we go. Right? So this is the perfect example of what we're talking about, and why I wanted to start off with the 7 types of talks today that you should definitely consider if you're applying for TED or TEDx. Because a great basic idea that your audience has already heard about, with a compelling new argument or spin on it that challenges the belief or perspective, that's a perfect way of saying that you can have a small idea and still change the world with your perspective, change the world with your story, right? You can ignite some things up, all right? Yes, I'm loving the interaction on today's talk. The second thing, and this is the last one, in terms of from the TED website, in terms of what makes a great, well-informed idea, is something that's new and surprising, an idea, an invention that your audience has never heard about, right? Super simple. So if we were to put this within the container of what we just spoke about, basically they're looking at those big ideas, right? Those big ideas that could really help change the narrative, as well as those small ideas. That if we just change the temperature 1 or 2 degrees, we could actually make a whole ton of change in this world. Okay, so those are the two main parameters that are on the TED website, which helps us understand like those 7 types of talks. Okay, so to round us out today, and if you have any questions, go ahead and make sure that you go ahead and put those in the chat now. If you are on Facebook or LinkedIn, you can actually raise your hand if you would like to join today's broadcast. So you can go ahead and do that as well. So just want to make sure that we get all the information that I promised you today. And so the very last thing that we are going to talk about are the TED content guidelines. Okay, TED content guidelines. So just give me a quick second here while you are while you are populating your questions. Okay. If anybody is interested, by the way, I know you all want a lighter. I know you all want a lighter, right? Just go ahead and if you're interested, actually, in joining the Ideas That Ignite cohort, every single year, TED opens up their doors for a process called the TED Global Idea Search. As I mentioned earlier in the stream, this is exactly how I got onto the stages of TED. The last one closed around September 30th of 2022, so a couple months ago. And typically they open them up like every 6 months or so. So for those of you who are interested, we are opening a brand new cohort for people to get y'all lit. Let's get lit. Okay. And we're going to be opening those doors in January 2023. If you're interested in learning more, definitely go ahead and check out ignite.donjfraser.com. I'm going to go ahead and put that little banner up for those of you who are on live on Facebook. As I mentioned, we'll be doing these 7 days of Ignite on TEDx Lit. Yes, TEDx Lit. I love that idea. We're going to be doing 7 days of Ignite. Today is day number 2. To get you ready and prepared to land a TED or TEDx talk in 2023. If you're interested in group coaching, what we do is we walk through these different setups in terms of everything that you need for your story, for your idea, for your presentation, your application, and for the overall just readiness of your body and spirit to actually take on a TED or TEDx talk. It could take months. It took me about 2 years to land my my TED talk, but I want to shorten that timeline for y'all. Okay, so if you're interested in joining the next cohort, go ahead and fill out an application at ignite.donjfraser.com. We will be opening. We have applications open until the 21st of December. Okay, so make sure you get your application in before then. And that, my friend, is how you can get ignited. I can get this lighter. I know y'all want some. I know y'all want it. Okay. Or you can come to one of my events because I end up just like throwing these at people in the audience. Right. And if you're bad about talking about yourself, that's perfectly fine. Because I want to actually hear about what it is that you're passionate about, like what it is that you've spoken to people about. What do people come to you to talk about? Right? People come to me to figure out how to best frame their stories, how to communicate something that is like on their heart, on their soul, something that they've lived through. They also come to me to figure out like, where does my story live? Should this be on TED? Should this be on The Moth? Should this be in the form of a book? Should this be a podcast? So people come to me for those type of of issues, right? What do people come to you for? I'm curious to know. Go ahead and put it in the chat because I want to hear what you guys are up to. Okay. So the last thing that I want to discuss in today's stream are TEDx's content guidelines. TEDx's content guidelines. Now you might be wondering, like, well, why exactly is this part of the discussion about are you a good fit for TEDx or for TED? And the reason is I think that the content guidelines will help us inform what exactly makes a good talk. So, and what exactly you can pitch and what exactly you can't pitch. Okay. So there's only 3. But they're big ones. Okay. So the first one is content guideline number 1, no commercial agendas. Okay, no commercial agendas. That means if you are trying to plug a book, if you're an entrepreneur who is trying to plug some type of business or service or product, no bueno. Okay, because what's going to happen is they're going to see through what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So if you have a product or a service that is part of your brand, you want to make sure that you're talking about the why behind your service, okay, or the what it can accomplish, not necessarily about your product or your service itself. Okay, not about the product or the service itself. So for example, I want to give like a quick example on this one. I have a great friend by the name of Dan Barish. He lived in New York City, or probably still does live in New York City. And any New Yorkers out there might know about this thing called the High Line. Okay, the High Line, it was an abandoned railroad track that basically was an elevated track that kind of like ran down the west side of Manhattan. Once it became abandoned, they decided to convert the space because it was already there. The structure was there. If you walk by, there's poles and all this kind of stuff, right? They wanted to convert the space into usable space like a park. And so they started putting like greenery and trees and different installations of art and places where people could actually congregate and eat. And so they utilized the space and they called it the High Line. So if anybody has ever gone to New York, you can actually visit this place, right? Now, what my friend Dan wanted to do was use the exact same concept of reusing space that is no longer being used into an underground space. And so he created the Low Line. And the low line was actually this abandoned subway station in like New York City's like downtown district, like actually closer to like the east side. But it basically was abandoned space. And so he wanted to see, could I use the same concept and philosophy of the high line to the low line? And part of it included like, actually like capturing natural light from the sun so that they could actually create natural flowers and an environment where things could flourish under freaking ground. Okay, so the reason why I bring this up is because he was talking specifically about the low line. So you would think like, isn't he pushing a commercial agenda if he's talking about the low line? But instead, what we want to do is he reframed it so that we're actually talking about the use of spaces that have not been fully captured upon, during the course of history, right? So there is a way to talk about your service or product, but you want to talk about the why behind it. In Jan's case, we talked about why we need more green spaces in New York City and how we could do it by looking at things that have been abandoned and converting them into something that can be utilized by the public, okay? So number one, if you have a product or service, if you're an entrepreneur, think about the why behind it as a way to understand how you can talk about your service or product without pushing a commercial agenda. Okay, does that make sense? Does that make sense? Oh, I'm seeing tons of different things in the chat. I'm going to get to your questions just a moment as soon as we finish up with these content guidelines. So keep them coming, keep them coming. Okay. The second guideline that we want to talk about is that the fact that they don't want any type of political agendas or inflammatory rhetoric. Okay, no political agendas, no Trumpers, none, no January 6th insurrectionists, and also like no Antifas. Okay, I'm not trying to get into political talk during this particular live stream. I just want to mention that if you have a political agenda, that's not going to fly. Now, of course, policy and social issues are part of any type of talk, but we want to make sure that's not inflammatory. We want to make sure that we're talking about a global issues or local issues that we can act upon, but not necessarily like but not in a way that's pushing a political agenda, a political party, or anything like that. Okay. And last but not least, rounding us out on our third guideline is no religious agendas. Okay, no religious agendas. I'm sorry, I lied. There's one more. And I was like, I'm missing something. I knew I was missing something. You'll see what's happening. Get so excited about this stuff. There's actually two more. Okay. So so the third one is no religious agendas. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. We don't want to. You're not going to see on stages people pushing any type of political, religious rhetoric. Okay. And the fourth one. This is the one that I think I'm also trying to work with a couple of people on. Is no bad science, quote quote bad science. Okay. Now, when we talk about bad science, it's things that are hard to back without any type of proof. Okay. So for example, if you are into anything that's like, I don't want to use the word woo woo, but I am going to use the word woo woo. Okay. But anything that it has to be scientifically provable. So, for example, this last cohort, I was working with somebody who has a fascinating story about premonitions. Right? She has seen things happen before. She had a premonition about something that was going to happen. The shit actually happened, right? And she wanted to talk about the importance of advocacy and paying attention to your body, right? The problem, as much as this is a fascinating topic, the problem with it is it's not provable. It can't be backed by science. So if any of you are in the field of spirituality, in a way that can't necessarily be proved, or in science in a way that can't be proved, we might need to tweak that so it actually fits within the guidelines of something that can be proven. Okay. So that's the fourth guideline. So of course, every single person is slightly different, but those were the things I wanted to talk to you about today in terms of, are you a good fit for TEDx? Right? If you are a good fit for TEDx. Now, like I mentioned at the top of the stream, I'm going to be jumping to your questions in just a second. So make sure that you add those questions into the stream so I can come back to them. But if you are interested, if you're innovative, if you're innovator, a creative, a leader in your field, and 2023 is going to be the year for you to ignite your brand, to land a TED or TEDx talk, and to spread that message to millions, I want to speak with you. Okay. My program, ideas that ignite, ideas that ignite. It's for you. It's for you. So go ahead and follow the link in my bio, where you get some more information about this particular program. You can also follow the link, which is ignite.donjfraser.com, ignite.donjfraser.com. You can also just send me a DM and just put ignite in the chat. I'll know exactly what you're talking about. I'll get to you. You know, if you want to make sure that you're following the 7 days of Ignitemas, make sure that you join us on the Facebook group, or that you follow me on LinkedIn, because I will be showing more slides during the course of these events. I'm gonna go ahead and take down the banner on our, there we go, on our live stream. Now go ahead and hide that. There we go. Yes, TEDx lit, TEDx lit. Okay, so with that being said, I hope that understanding the 7 types of talks that people and curators are looking for will help you think about, how can I qualify for it, be it a big idea, be it a small idea, be it a performance, be it a mission statement, right? Be it some type of innovation or invention. I want you to think about, who am I relative to that? How might I be able to articulate my idea in one sentence? How can I continue to reframe it so that everybody who is inside and outside of my audience is actually intrigued by it, and make people lean into it? And last but not least, what is going to be the takeaway? What is going to be the takeaway for the audience? Okay, so tomorrow's live stream is going to be the same place, same time. Let's see if I can share with you really quickly the title. The title for tomorrow is going to be how I landed a TED Talk without being known. So how I landed a TED Talk without being known. I'm going to share with you a little bit of my own story for those of you who are new to me. So let's get to some questions in the chat. Let's go. Oh, y'all like the lighter? I know. I like the lighter too. Okay. Let's see. Questions. Okay, the Facebook group. The Facebook group is Ideas That Ignite. Ideas That Ignite on Facebook. That is a free community of people who are basically on the same path. Innovators, creatives, people who are thought leaders, who are looking for insights. That is where a lot of my content will be living. So go ahead and join us on Facebook over there. Let's see, I'm scrolling to see. Yes, Lance, this is saved. You can catch the replay either here on Instagram, or we're also live on LinkedIn and Facebook on the Ideas That Ignite group. So if you missed any of today's session, you can go ahead and catch the replay over there. All right. If you want my lighter, hit me up. Maybe I'll make an exception. Maybe I'll make an exception. You can get one specially delivered to your house. Just drop me a DM. Begani, you gonna get lit on TEDx? Let's go. Let's go, babe. I feel you. Begani be doing some major things out in the world. Yes. Let's see. Bad talking about yourself. I feel you. I feel you. I'm not one of those people either who is great about talking about myself. But as I mentioned, I want to be able to see the intersection between who you are, so the things that you're passionate about, the things that you know a lot about, and the things that could be in service of your audience. Okay. So I'm gonna just make a quick little diagram here. For those of you who feel like, you know, you don't want to talk about yourself, I feel you. I feel you. But we do want to be able to talk a little bit about yourself in terms of like why you might be the person for a TED or TEDx organizer to actually be on their stage. Okay, so I'm going to draw a little quick little diagram here. This right here is your expertise. Okay, the top of this is going to be your expertise. This is a horrible diagram, but that's okay. If you have a hard time talking about yourself, what I want you to do is I want you to think about who you are in terms of the things that people come to you for, right? The things that you can talk about forever and ever, amen, regardless of if you had a platform or not. Like, what are the things that you can talk about forever, ever, amen? And the things that are in service to an audience, okay? The things that are in service to an audience. So the things that you are an expert at, like, you know, if you have a degree, if you have any type of accolades, if you've received some type of awards, you know, people have recognized that you have contributed some type of intellect to society, your expertise, okay? The things that you could talk about, right? So the things that light you up, if you've written a book, a podcast, things that you could talk about forever and ever, amen. And the things that are in service of your audience. Okay, so even if you are not one of those people who likes to talk about yourself, I do want you to think about what people have come to you for, and what people typically think about you when your name comes to mind. Okay, so we'll be getting a little bit more into like this particular diagram in an upcoming live stream. So make sure that you're following, so that we can support you on that journey. Okay. This diagram looks like ET. The diagram does kind of look like ET. Wow. But you know what? That's why I have slides. Oh, y'all are hilarious. All right, let me go back to some questions here. Let's see here. Oh, so publicity. Publicity is one of the things that you talk about. Ooh. I would be really interested to know like what's changed in terms of the world of publicity over the past couple of years. You know, one of the things, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent here for just a quick second, but one of the things I think that I started realizing relative to publicity is that when live streams and like the opportunity to actually kind of do this kind of stuff came about, that so many people started proclaiming that they were gurus, because they learned how to maximize and leverage SEO, like search engine optimization, right? People became really good at search engine optimization, as opposed to actually really being good at some type of content subject matter. And so they were able to use their own publicity, their own platforms to kind of self-proclaim their guru-ness. But I actually find it quite interesting, the idea of publicity and how people who are true to their field can actually leverage the technology to demonstrate their expertise. So really interesting. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your angle on publicity and how we might be able to think about it differently. Let's see here. Okay. Helps to find solutions to problems. Collaboration in any part of life is an enterprise. Yes, it is. It is. I wonder if that was a response to like talking about the group coaching aspect, the collaborative aspect, which is very much like a mastermind. You know, I think that one of the things that I love about this particular program that we have is it's a mastermind. Like I might not have all the answers, but the people who are part of the community often are able to like help us think and reframe the questions. So collaboration and actually like leaning into the time and the energy that people can spend on us, it's awesome. It's awesome. Oh wow, used to be 430 pounds. So you help with body positivity. Why the shrug? Why the shrug? Is this because it's a second topic or a second thing that you want to be able to talk about? I think it is. I think it is. And so what we want to do is kind of we want to go back to ET. Okay, we want to go back to ET. Now you might be able to talk about body positivity, we want to make sure that it's something that you are an expert in, which you probably are if you were 430 pounds, and I'm assuming now you're not. Um, um, Something that you can talk about for forever and ever, amen, and something of value to the audience, right? So if you have a couple of different topics or a couple of different things, I want you to do the ET experience and actually see where these things overlap. I should note that ET does have a belly. I'm gonna put a face on ET. You like that? You like that face? Okay, so that we can actually discern which one of these topics you most want to lean into. Because keep in mind that every TED and TEDx talk is 18 minutes or less. 18 minutes or less by design. Okay, by design, they are short. That's because we want to lean into like one main topic, one main issue, one idea we're spreading, and we want to go deep with it. It also gives us the opportunity if people get bored with your talk, if they're zoning out and want to go to lunch, it'll be over in like a couple more minutes, right? Some of the best talks, my talk was 6 minutes. Okay, so there's a lot that you can say and be very specific within those 6 minutes. Okay, so let's see here. Don't throw the lighter at you. I won't throw the lighter at you. I wouldn't throw it at you. I'll just put it under your booty and get your ass going. Okay. TEDx phone home. Yeah, Google gurus. Exactly. Google gurus. Asking what people, oh, that's what people come to you for. Okay, great. Because I'm horrible at talking about yourself. Okay, great. It's no problem. So once again, I want you to think about the fact that we all have millions and millions of stories inside of us. Millions of stories inside of us, right? I know it's hard to choose one. But I want you to start off with the one that the topic or the issue that people are coming to you for. Okay. Will you put in the chat for me? Like what is the topic or the issue that people come to you most for? I would love to see that in the chat. I would love to see that in the chat. Oh, here we go. Here we go. What's the ET? Oh, so somebody mentioned that my diagram. I'm just gonna hold it up here for a quick second. Let's see if I can get it on the screen properly. Okay, yeah. My diagram looks like ET. I might actually create this into the slides for our next presentation. But the ET slide or the emerging ET slide is a combination of things that we want to do when we're trying to figure out what is our best idea or what idea do I most likely want to lean into. And it's a combination of 3 things. I promise I will make this better because I know this ET does not look very full. But the top here says expertise. It says expertise. So what are the things that people know you for? What degrees have you gotten? What certificates have you received? What's your expertise? Like, what do people know you for? People know me for storytelling and for giving birth to their stories, and then leveraging them in service of something. Okay. This one over here. Let's see if I can get my fingers correct. This one over here is the things that you can talk about forever and ever. Amen. Right? So those things that you can talk about forever and ever, amen, can really help you understand what is the topic that most makes sense for me to lean into. Okay. And the third leg of ET is the thing that's most in service of to a audience. Okay. So we want to keep in mind that every single talk is in service of your audience. This thing, as much as y'all want to think about it, this a TED or TEDx talk is not about you. It's not about you. It is about what an audience member who listens to your 18 minutes or less will do, say, or believe as a result of listening to your talk. What they will say, do, or believe as a result of listening to your talk. Okay. So we can't just share a story. There are plenty of stages that are just for storytelling. Okay. If you want some information about that, hit me up. I am a storyteller. I do travel like a mug, just sharing stories because I love stories, right? But when we're talking about TED and TEDx talks, it needs to be in service of the audience, specifically in terms of the audience. What do you want them to do as a result of this talk? So if you're able to find where those three things intersect on our ET diagram, then that is probably going to be the idea that is best going to be suited for you. Okay, so we're going to talk about this a little bit more detail in one of our upcoming streams. Okay, great question. Great question. Oh, I should have shown the question. There we go. Awesome. You see, y'all, if you're on this live stream, I'm getting used to the technology. So thank you for that question. Let's see. Can go ahead and hide that. Okay, great. Let's see. Any other questions before signing off on today's live stream? Oh, we got some more friends in the house. My story peeps, Susan, Shannon, what is up? Yo, I was just in today's stream, I was talking about the fact that for those of you who are storytellers, that a lot of times being able to tell a great story can serve as your foundation for a TED or TEDx talk. If you are on IG right now, my homeboy Shannon Kaysen just jumped into the stream. You'll actually be able to see a clip of Shannon Kaysen's talk on our website. If you go back to it, it is ignite.donjfraser.com. Shannon is a fellow storyteller. There we go. There's the banner. Shannon is a fellow storyteller, and I don't want to give away. I don't want to give away the genius of Shannon's talk, but let's just say that he got into some money issues. He got into some money issues, and he was able to use his story to talk about how he changed. Oh man. So to my storytelling crew out there, yes, you can do a TED or TEDx talk. Do it. Hit me up. Let's do this damn thing. It is the end of 2023. Let's get this shit going, y'all. Let's get it going. So if you're interested in this group coaching program, I always love the cohorts that we're able to that come together. Check out ignite.donjfraser.com. Okay. And you'll see what we're talking about. All right. So I am going back to the questions, making sure. Any other questions on our on Facebook group or on LinkedIn? I want to go ahead and jot those in the chat now. Yep. Did you all like today's live stream? I hope you all did. I hope you all got some insights. As I mentioned, today is day two. Today two of the 7 days of Ignitemas. So we'll be doing a lot more of these. Today we talked about the 7 different things to consider when you're thinking about doing a TED or TEDx talk. Okay. So if you missed it, go ahead and go back to the replay. Let's see here. Oh, you know what? There's a new question box on Instagram. What is this? All right, I'm just gonna hang out with y'all for a quick minute. What up, Miss Susan Kent? Yo, where's your stories at, boo? Where's your TED Talk? All right, I'm just gonna sit here for a quick sec because questions. Let's see, the ET diagram equals energy targeting and phoning into your audience. Yes, the ET, like, I love the fact that you all are like digging this ET diagram. This was not intended. This is absolutely not intended. But but like as I mentioned, if it's something that you all want to like, if y'all wanted to discuss in further detail, you know, I would be more than happy at talking about what this ET is in terms of the intersection of who you are, your expertise, the things we can talk all forever and ever about, and what an audience needs to know in order to decide and determine what your TED or TEDx talk should be about. You're Susan Kent. I'm asking about your TED talk. I want to see you on TED, babe. For those of you who don't know, I hosted a show the very, very first time that I decided that I couldn't wait for any more stages to get on. I was just going to create my own damn stage. I put together a show called Barbershop Stories. And Barbershop Stories was based out of New York City. And basically, we would pack a barbershop, a couple different barbershops on Fulton Street in Harlem, with as many people as I could possibly jam into these shops. And I would bring some of the best storytellers that I knew to share their experiences. So we would feature the storytellers. We'd be doing like a little hair action. By the way, y'all liking the curls? Y'all liking the curls? Yeah, I got it. It's a little bit dry today, but I'll work on that. But anyways, so people will be like getting their hair done. People will be doing the damn thing. People will be like eating chicken wings, right? We would have musicians. We would have poets. Um, and so many people who are part of my storytelling community, including Susan Kent, including Shannon Kaysen, including some of y'all who I see on this line, were actually some of my very first storytellers on that show. And it was the best show ever. I missed that show. Yes, it was exactly like an NPR Tiny Desk. It was like an NPR Tiny Desk for a diverse community of people. In Fort Greene, I would say Fort Greene at the time was probably about just a little bit over 50% Black, and everybody else, Asian, Latino, Native American, Russian, like you name it, Ukrainian. We got like everybody was up in the mix, right? And my whole philosophy was like, I didn't care what color you were. I didn't care if you're white, black, Asian. I didn't care, but non-binary, they, them, who, what, Q's, whatever, queens. It didn't matter to me. If you had a story that connected us, then I wanted to have it. I wanted to see it. And so that's how I started barbershop stories. We would like literally bring people into these shops and we would share stories on stage. Um, and it just became one of those things where so many of us were able to appreciate and feel the love and the vibe of a barbershop, of the Black barbershop specifically. Because for those of you who are people of color who know these barbershops, we'd be hanging out in these things. We'd be hanging out in these shops like days getting our hair done, right? So yeah, hair therapy, baby. Hair therapy, it's the absolute best. It's the absolute best. So anyways, but that's when I started realizing, y'all, that my story mattered, that other people's stories mattered, because we started seeing each other as community members. We started seeing each other as assets, as people that we needed to learn from, to build from. Right. And then little by little, I also started to see that same exact story, that exact same freaking story that I was sharing on stages could be used for paid speaking engagements, right? All of a sudden, people were starting to approach me asking if I could present their story and wrap it in a different container and talk about like leadership. And all of a sudden, instead of being paid like $100 or $200 to share a story, I was being paid $5,000, $10,000, right? I was like, what in the world is happening? So all of that to say, y'all, that your stories can be used in so many different ways. So many different ways. Many of you might know that I'm like working with companies like Google, Spotify, that I'm working with these major corporate accounts, hiring people who are part of my storytelling community to help, train and coach with me. But but that all came about because I started seeing that if we first start off with a great story, then we put a different container on it, right? We wrap it in a different container. It can be utilized for so many different things. Our past has not changed, but the way that we talk about it and the way that we articulate it can change. So that story hasn't changed, but we could use that story for advocacy, right? That exact same story could be used to make money, inspiring others in leadership potential or motivation potential, right? That exact same story could be used for a TED talk, right? That exact same story could be used on a date. Any single people out there? Just kidding. Um, so yeah, um, so Susan, maybe I will bring it back. Maybe I will bring back barbershop stories. Uh, you know, Mike and I, we had some magic. We might just bring it back. Um, so let's see here. Let's see. Oh, you went to school for hair therapy. Yes. Yes, I know. Oh, child, let me tell you, this one time I had you all see the curls? Curls. I have so much hair. Anyways, there's this one spot on the back of my head where I still it's still sensitive because when I was like 7 years old, I got a relaxer. 7 years old, I got a relaxer. Still traumatized. Still telling the story about it. right? So be careful with them people's heads. Um, Collaboration is an enterprise. It's your favorite thing to say. Yes. Oh, I'm loving the vibes. I'm loving the vibes. What's up, Martha? So great to see you all here. Yo. All right. All right, y'all. Any other questions? This was fun. This was great. I hope you all come back tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to be sharing a little bit more about my journey because here's the thing. I think that people when they see that I've spoken at TED, like TED, like Big TED, um, I'm hoping that it provides some inspiration because what I've learned is that TED is just looking for people with ideas, like I said, like those small little incremental ideas, but people who are also experts who know how to tell a good story. Okay, people who are experts who know how to tell a great story. So that's what we're going to be talking about in tomorrow's live stream, same time, same place. Um, Hopefully you're able to join me because today's session was awesome. And we've been going on for just a little bit over an hour with these comments. Y'all have been great today. So, so yes, and if you're interested, once again, in the coaching program, the doors are open until December 21st for the next cohort, December 21st. You can check out the link in my bio, or you can just go to ignite.donjfraser.com. Don't put in a www. I don't believe in wwws. I don't believe in wwws. Okay, just kidding. Just kidding. No, but there's no www. It's just ignite.donjfraser.com. So for those of you who were looking for the site, and if you were getting an error, you may have put a www before it. There ain't no www. Okay, just ignite.donjfraser.com. All right. So thank you for hanging out with me today. It was so awesome. Um, and I hope to see you all on the next live stream soon. All right, y'all. Love y'all. Yeah, I'm glad I caught you too, Susan. Hit me up. You want a lighter? You want a lighter? An Ideas Ignite lighter? I don't know. It's a good stocking stuffer. It's a good stocking stuffer. My first set of swag. Love you all. Take care.